Welcome back to another Googan Lab. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my all-time favorite bait casting setup. Before we get this kicked off, just so you know, this is my personal preference. Everything you see here are things that I truly love to fish and I feel like I excel at. Of course, I couldn't pick one specific lure to go with my setup, so I've got two here and I'm going to discuss why I've chosen these two, which by the way are very different. Let's start off with the casting reel. Since we're talking about a casting setup today, let's start off with the casting reel. This right here is a 7.6-to-1 gear ratio casting reel. That to me is the absolute perfect gear ratio. There's a lot of reels out there that have like a 10-to-1, 11-to-1, some that are super slow for cranking. This, in my opinion, is the perfect middle. You can fish fast with this, but you can also fish slow. You can crank with this, but you can catch up on a bite if you get a huge throttle on a jig and you have to reel up all that slack and set the hook. The real important thing about this reel is the fact that it's got a good drag. It's got that 7.6-to-1. A 7.2-to-1 is also super ideal, and it can fit a good amount of heavy line and also light line if you want to do some finesse tactics. So there's the reel. Now let's talk about what goes with the reel, that being the rod. What we have right here is my all-time favorite. This is the go-to. It does what it's advertised to do, and that is to fish literally every single tactic that I can think of. Spinner baits, moving baits, crankbaits, jerk baits, jigs, whatever you're in the mood for, this rod can absolutely tackle it. But in order for all this to work, we need some line. We need to spool some line on our casting reel. One of my favorite lines out there is the Googan Squad 20-pound test fluorocarbon. I know this may seem kind of weird, but personally I like 20-pound test because this has a lot of durability. If you're flipping over a log, if you get a bite and some heavy cover, you'll be able to pull that fish out with ease. And that's why I've chosen 20-pound as my go-to all-around favorite line to spool up on my setup, my casting setup. I couldn't pick one lure for my casting setup, my go-to casting setup, so I decided to settle on two, one of which is the clutch. This is such a versatile hard bait. Unlike, our Recon or the Banger that are limited to where they can dive or reach the fish, this is a bait that you can fish in 0 feet of water. This is a bait that you can fish in 100 feet of water. It sinks or rises depending on how quickly you reel it in. And it's just an awesome way to cover water and catch big fish as well. Fish it on rocks, grass, deep ledges, shallow flats. It is mega ideal. So on the complete other end of the spectrum, I've chosen this lure to be my number 2 go-to for any casting setup. This one right here is the gridiron jig. I've seen so many giant fish caught on this thing, and I'm personally caught a lot on this specific lure. This is a 1/2 ounce and a rotten pumpkin color. This is super ideal for fishing year-round. Winter, spring, summer, it's a bait that just seems to get it done, and it's an all-time favorite for big bass. That's personally what I like to chase. I don't necessarily have anything against small fish, but I like catching giants, and the jig just seems to get it done. On the back of my jig, I like throwing the Kraken Craw Jr. The full size is great, I love it, but something about that smaller, a little bit more low-key profile on the back of a gridiron just seems to get them going. So I've got two really versatile baits here. One that I can cover water with, fish fast, fish deep, fish shallow, and another one that I can drag on the bottom and get the laziest, the fattest, and the biggest bass out of the lake. And I can do it all with some 20-pound test, the Googan Go-To green, and a reel that is fast enough to reel on a bite or crank in my crankbait. Thank you guys so much for watching yet another Googan Lab. We appreciate the view. Drop a comment, let us know what you'd like to see next on this here channel. We will make it happen. Appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time.